So Hargreaves was a company that started as a coal company. So we processed, mined, delivered coal to power stations. We've been through quite a transformational change. And now the business has what we call three pillars. So those three pillars are effectively a services business that has over 50 framework or term contracts. To give you an idea, over 85% of the revenue is already secured. Then we have a property business. Now we have over 11,000 acres of land, predominantly in the north and Scotland, and some really big projects. One of them is Blindwells, one is Unity, and then there's another one at Westfield, which are really exciting for us. That's the land business. And then the third pillar is our joint venture in Germany. And that German business has a big recycling plant, recycles over 500,000 tons of waste from the steel industry and produces about 280,000 ton of pig iron and about 7,000 ton of zinc. So those are the three pillars of Hargreaves. Well, that part of the business has three sections. So first of all, we have the trading. The trading business has benefited from trading around the DK asset, and the volumes are up significantly. Everybody knows commodity prices are very hot at the moment, so they've done very well. It's back-to-back business though, so we don't take open positions. We always sell what we've purchased, so we're not exposed to major movements. So that's done really well. DK recycling though has been outstanding. Like I said, a recycling business takes over 500,000 ton of waste from steel plants across Europe, turns it into pig iron and zinc. Those prices have been significantly higher than traditional. But also alongside that, we've done some fundamental changes to the way the business is run, their operating procedures. We've cut significant amount of overhead. So we think we're building a sustainable long-term business there, and I think the results speak for themselves. Finally, there's our grinding plant, which we invested over 28 million euros in. This grinds coal for use in the cement and steel industries and replaces what's a very dirty lignum brown coal dust. So we're seeing that now ramp up. They'll do about 100,000 tons in this current calendar year. Ultimately, it will grow to 400,000 tons, and then it's a double-digit ROCE return on the investment for shareholders. So we think all three businesses are doing well in Germany. We have two big projects in services. Just taking the first one, Hemerdon. So that was a site that we actually owned for a period of time. We sold that on to Tungsten West, and with it came two elements. First of all, we get £1 million per annum royalty for the next 8 years. First 1 million was delivered in this period. And we also have, more importantly, in some respects, a mining services contract. Now that's 10 years in duration. It's open book, cost plus 7.5%. And the big thing is there's no credit exposure to our shareholders. So under the terms of the sale of the site, Tungsten West have to pay us in advance. So we are never exposed to any credit risk. In fact, we're exposed to no risks at all because they have to put into a fund all of our demobilization costs and the redundancy for the employees. So it's a definite positive for our shareholders with no real risk. The other one we talk about is HS2. Again, that's building some significant momentum now, as I mentioned earlier. It hit 2 million a month in November, and that's going to continue to ramp up through the spring. We announced that the contract's worth 120 million as an initial contract. We think it will probably grow from that number. But the position with that is, again, our counterpart is effectively the government. And again, it's an open book cost plus contract. So very little risk, contract selectivity, which is one of the key themes from services, making sure we deal with blue chip customers where we don't have credit exposure and where we can manage the risks effectively. Yes, both are very exciting, and I'm very proud of what the property team have done there. If you take Blindwells, it was an old open cast coal mine just outside of Edinburgh, actually next to the A1 and the East Coast Main Line, so very good logistical positioning. That site has about 20 years of life in it, so it's a very long-term site. Hargreaves has invested a significant amount of money to take it through the planning process to actually get the infrastructure in, and now we're starting to benefit from the sales of the site and the profits that are coming through. But like I said, it's a big site. It'll effectively, when the whole of what's called the Greater Blindwells is completed, although it's not all on our land, will be an 8,000 houses small town on the outskirts of Edinburgh. So that's really positive. The other one that I'm also particularly proud of is what we've done down in Unity next to Doncaster. So again, our part of this land was a deep mine that we were heavily involved with. When it closed, there was a lot of redundancy in the area. And now this is the legacy from that. We entered into a joint venture with a partner who owns some land next to us. And now we've mentioned the fact that we've sold some of the land for a industrial park. So it's going to be industrial park, leisure, and residential. Again, a big project, over 650 acres, and it's got a duration of probably 15 years, if not more. So again, a long-term recurring income stream for our shareholders after an initial stage of investment, just like Blindwells. So the money's gone in both of these, and it's now starting to flow out, and it will flow out on both these projects for a substantial amount of time. Yeah, I'm particularly proud of that side of the business as well. So if you look at our land bank, we had a significant land bank in Scotland. So one of those projects, for instance, is we have 1,000 acres that we're forestering. So when the forestry goes onto it, that will obviously capture carbon, and we'll be able to trade those carbon credits. So that's one area. Again, you mentioned the waste to energy plant. So that's part of our renewables portfolio, as we call it. That's really exciting for shareholders. Hasn't had the profile in the past, maybe. So Brockwell's the first step. Now that gives us a waste to energy plant built by a third party on our land, which gives us this long-term 35-year rental income that we've mentioned to shareholders. But with that comes cheap electricity and steam from what effectively is a renewable source. And that will bring a lot of industry to the site that we own, and we'll be able to sell or rent that land. And one of the key themes of our land is, with 11,000 acres, predominantly a large amount in Scotland, there's a lot of wind farms being built in Scotland. Now, they need either to be built on our land, or they need to access our land to put cables across. And that will generate a very significant income stream for the group. And again, these tend to be very much long-term, so they have high value, typically 35 years, maybe even longer. Where you get paid a rental income. So adding that all together gives us quite a nice exposure to the green space. If shareholders will remember, those who were with us early on, the situation was that we suspended the dividend from Germany while we built the grinding plant. So that effectively built up some retained earnings in the German business. And what we said was, when we reached the point where everything was running and the grinding plant's now running, we would then be able to repatriate to shareholders that pent up retained earnings. And that 12p happened last year. It's planned to happen this year, and will continue to be a feature of Hargreaves for quite a long time to come when you look at the numbers. So again, hopefully every year you'll expect to get this 12p. I think it's a really exciting time. I think we've created these three pillars. We've demonstrated now, we're in the delivery phase, as I would call it, that we're actually seeing those grow. So whether it's in property with the money coming from Unity, Blindwells, whether it's in services, because you're seeing HS2 starting, and the Hargreaves project starts in 2023. So we're getting ready for that, gearing up, getting the equipment. So, they'll see that coming. And then the stability that we think we can deliver in Germany, from now having these two big assets to trade around, both the grinding plant and DK, sees a nice, we believe, sustainable growth from Germany as well. So we think the momentum is now growing in the business. That's one of the key features, that you're now going to see the profits increasing over subsequent years as we deliver these projects. And like I said, we've now started that delivery phase, and it's going to speed up in the next 6 months.